If you're watching this, then they still haven't caught me. The Null Horizon Authority was never meant to be understood. It was meant to be obeyed. Its greatest strength wasn't its technology or its containment methods. It was secrecy. Today, that secrecy ends, at least where it all began. This is X1, the first anomaly, the reason the NHA exists at all, and the reason they never wanted you to know the truth. To understand X1, you need to go back over 200 years, late 18th century. The Antarctic Circle, uncharted, unforgiving, and believed to be empty. That's where a British naval explorer named Maxwell Null led an expedition that was supposed to chart ice drift patterns and trade routes. What he found instead changed the course of human history. Beneath the ice, not buried but preserved, was a city. Let that sit. Not ruins, not scattered remains. A city, streets, towers, plazas, an architecture that made no sense for its time. Maxwell documented it privately. He knew immediately that if this discovery became public, it would shatter everything science believed about history, civilization, and reality itself. Recovered document number 1 is a note believed to be written by a crewmate of Maxwell Null after first discovering X1. Let's read. Excavation beneath Arctic ice has confirmed the presence of a complete subterranean urban structure. Streets, buildings, and internal chambers remain structurally intact. No evidence of collapse or natural degradation has been observed. The site does not meet criteria for standard archaeological classification. Recommendation: continued excavation under restricted oversight. This is not a relic of the past. This is something displaced, something out of time. So he did something that would define the NHA's future. He didn't report it. He pitched camp. What began as a temporary encampment became Camp Null, a covert excavation site hidden from every known authority. Over decades, Camp Null evolved. More researchers, more funding, quietly rerouted. Eventually, it became the first permanent NHA facility. Today, you know it as Tundra Station, the largest, the oldest, and the most heavily buried site in NHA history. Everything the NHA is today, every classification, every clearance level, every lie, can be traced back to what they found beneath that ice. Let's talk about the city itself. Researchers determined something impossible. The city was older than recorded history, but more advanced than anything humanity had built at the time of its discovery. Its architecture resembled Renaissance design. Symmetry, arches, proportion, except it predated the Renaissance by centuries. That raised a terrifying question. Did this city inspire the Renaissance? Possibility exists that exposure to displaced structures influenced 15th century architectural evolution through undocumented contact or artifact migration. In other words, someone may have known about this place long before Maxwell Null. And if that's true, then history didn't just repeat itself. It was guided. Document 2 states, structural analysis indicates design principles consistent with Renaissance-era symmetry and proportion. Dating estimates place construction well outside known historical timelines. No conventional explanation exists for stylistic overlap. The possibility that exposure to anomalous structures influenced later human architectural development cannot be excluded. Direct causation cannot be proven, but correlation is significant. The deeper researchers went, the worse it got. Carbon dating failed. Material analysis contradicted itself. Temporal readings didn't align with baseline physics. Eventually, the NHA reached a conclusion they would never publish. The city did not originate in our universe. It came from a parallel reality, one that was ahead of ours. At some point, the two universes merged. Not collided, not destroyed. Merged. X1 represents a remnant of a future parallel civilization displaced into baseline reality during a convergence event of unknown origin. That city wasn't ancient, it was lost. At the heart of the city stood a chamber, not a throne room, not a temple, a burial site. Researchers believe it belonged to a high prince, though that title is still debated. What matters is what was carved into the pillar beside the tomb. A prophecy, the Bridge Prophecy. It spoke of worlds converging, of veils between realities thinning, of an authority formed to contain truth rather than protect humanity, and it spoke of the bridge. The most disturbing part? The prophecy wasn't vague. It didn't speak in metaphors alone. It mentioned a man wearing a crown, which I'm assuming is referring to my veil, written centuries before my birth, long before the NHA existed, long before I ever touched the veil. Designation crown appears consistently across all translations. No equivalent linguistic substitution detected. That's why the NHA buried X1, not because it was dangerous, but because it was accurate. If the world learned that history was manipulated, that reality had merged with a future civilization, that prophecy wasn't myth, but recorded fact, the NHA would lose control. X1 proves the NHA didn't discover the truth, and they inherited it, and then they weaponized it. They turned prophecy into surveillance, fate into containment, and knowledge into a leash. This is only the beginning. X1 wasn't just the first anomaly, it was the warning. The NHA ignored it. I won't. I'm Dr. Marcus Zane, former head of research for the NHA turned whistleblower, and this was X1. The truth will be known.